Yo, what's up, people? How you guys doing? So I woke up this morning and I was thinking to myself, Mikel Arteta is always talking about fine margins, fine margins. I'm like, what are these fine margins that this guy keeps talking about? Is it not as simple as just taking the ball and putting it in the back of the net? Like, just take the ball, put it in the back of the net, and we're done. No excuses, no reasoning. There's no need to explain yourself and be like, oh, fine margin this, fine margin that. But then I thought about it. Okay, who can help me figure out what these fine margins are? So I thought, my friend's AI. Yeah, I'm going to do something fun today. It's a fun video type thing that I'm going to try to do. I enjoy things like this. I don't know, you guys might not, but for those who enjoy it, geek out with me. I'm going to take the last 3 seasons and take all their data and throw it into AI and ask AI to see if it can mathematically or quantitatively actually predict who will win the next Premier League for this season. This is going to come as a shocker because I've already done it. So I'm just going to read through it with us. I'm just going to run it through. I'm not going to do it real time again. So yeah, but again, consistently, I hear this guy, Mikel Arteta, always saying this.
We really have to show, that determination, that quality, that in the Champions League the margins are so small, and we're gonna have to be at our best.
Just never got the hang of what he meant with that. But yeah, here we are now. What I did was I simply asked ChatGPT. I said, okay, here you go. Over the last 3 Premier League seasons, 22-23, 23-24, 25-26, 24-25, I said, what team has accumulated the most points and scored the most goals over the last 3 seasons of the English Premier League? And ChatGPT started with a bunch of stuff, but then it goes on to say, give me a breakdown of the top 3 teams with the most points and most goals scored, goals conceded, cumulative over the last 3 seasons. And ChatGPT says, here's a breakdown for the top 3 teams by points over the last 3 Premier League seasons. We all know this already. We know who had more points and who didn't over the last 3 seasons. But it says Manchester City over the last 3 seasons, 251 points. Goals scored 262 and goals conceded 84. It's calling this from StatMuse, by the way. It says second is Arsenal with 247 goals, 247 points. And then 248 goals and 66 goals conceded. Liverpool is third with 233 points, 184 goals scored, and 89 points conceded. Now, this already puts to rest the myth that Arsenal don't score goals because we're second in scoring goals, but we've just not won anything with it. All right. And so of course, ChatGPT tells me, if you'd like, I can also compute their goal difference or compute more teams. I said, yeah, can you compute the goals difference over that same period? Here are the goals differences. It says from your earlier data, Manchester City, again, we'll just look at the goals difference. Manchester City has a plus 178 goals difference. Arsenal has a plus 182 goals difference, a higher goals difference because we concede less goals. And Liverpool has a plus 95 goals difference. So although Manchester City have more points overall, Arsenal in that period had a slightly better goals difference. If you want, I can double check and break down by individual seasons to confirm the aggregates. I was like, no, just rank them in the order of goals difference. And then ChatGPT did that. It ranked them in the order of goals difference for me. Of course, Arsenal came up top, City and Liverpool. I'm doing all of this because I'm going to ask it to predict. So I wanted to just give it enough things to kind of run through as well. It says in summary, Arsenal edge City for best overall goals difference. That doesn't win you trophies. I get that. I know that's what people are going to say in the comments, but this is all for the fun of it. Manchester City remain the most consistent in points, which is true. Now, Liverpool trail in both points and goals difference, but still top 3 in both metrics. And that's just crazy. They trail, but they're still top 3 in both metrics. And even though they trail, they've won a trophy with their own points, goals scored and goals difference, even though Arsenal have a higher one. And so that's where there's a bit of confusion for me. But yeah, I guess that's a video for another day. But it says, would you like me to visualize? Now, this part I asked ChatGPT to visualize and just give me like a bar chart. And this is a standard bar chart that you could have made in Microsoft Word or anything. And then I said, can you mathematically and statistically predict who will win the new season based on the numbers over the last 3 seasons? It says that's a sharp question, and we can actually approach it quantitatively using a weighted trend model and some simple statistical forecasting logic. Let's break it down clearly. So now this is where ChatGPT gets fun. It breaks it down clearly. ChatGPT says, Number one, the data we have cumulative from 22 to 25, right? City points, and we look at the goals scored here, and we look at the goals conceded here, and then we look at the goals difference here. Number two, average per season, simple regression baseline. This is like, the average regression per season. Again, City is topping with 83.7 points, 82.3 points, 77.7. Average goals scored 87.3, 82.7. The difference in our goals scored here is just a +5 goals over 38 games. If Arsenal scores an additional 5 goals over 38 games, we actually are on par with City when it comes to goals scored, and that might actually bring our points up, because if you're scoring goals, you're probably winning those games. Average goals conceded, there's a 6-point difference between City and Arsenal, and then average goals difference, of course, it's marginal. It's a 2-point difference, I think, if I'm not mistaken there. And then it says weighted momentum trend projection, assuming performance over 3 years follows an upward and stable pattern. Assuming, this is for the fun side. Arsenal steadily improving both defensively and offensively, and goals difference trend upwards. Man City consistently elite but marginally declining in clean sheets and defensive control. Why? Because they're already at the top. They have very little to be able to get to 100. So it's either they stay there and people catch up to them, or they decline slightly. But that's just life. Liverpool rebuilding more volatility, scoring output declining relative to top two, right? Relative to the top two doesn't mean that Liverpool is not scoring a lot of goals. It just means relative to the top two. Again, because the margins are already big here. You're looking at 82 to 77. Liverpool would have to outscore in many games to catch up to the top two. Okay, good. If we apply a weighted regression at 60% weight in the last season, 25% into the mid-season, or 15% to the older season, projected points this season would be Manchester City, 87 to 90 points, plus 60 goals difference, and a 41% probability of winning the title. ChatGPT says Manchester City are going to win the title, and I don't think it's far-fetched as ChatGPT saying this. It says Arsenal will come second again with 86 to 89 points. That means Arsenal marginally might lose this league this season by 1 point. It says, but we'll have a better plus goals difference with plus 62. And it gives us a 38% probability chance. Liverpool, 79 to 82% plus 35. All of this is based on the past 3 seasons. Don't forget, Liverpool won last season. So it's also factoring in the fact that Liverpool did well last season, including the other 2 seasons before that. And it says the others, Chelsea, Spurs, etc. get like a 6% combined probability of winning. Okay, mathematical summary. City and Arsenal are statistically neck on neck. Arsenal have a slightly stronger goals difference trajectory, better defensive trend. City's consistency and their experience tilt the edge back towards them by a few percent. This is where we keep talking about experience and know-how. And of course, the Pep Guardiola factor. Predictions for 25-26. Manchester City, 88 points, plus 60 goals difference. Arsenal, 87 points. This would be so painful. Plus 62 points. Goals difference. This would be so painful if this comes to pass. If this comes to pass, it will be painful. Liverpool, 80 points, goals difference plus 35. I didn't ask it anything else except what I did, and after the prediction, it actually put a note there and says, but if Arsenal sustain their defensive gains and improve scoring efficiency by just 5 goals, they statistically overtake City in expected points per game. And then I asked it to make a visual probability, and it gave me something stupid. AI is really not the best right now with images, but yeah. It was saying Manchester City blue. Okay, fine. Then it says Arsenal red. I don't see any red in the chart that it created. So I asked it again. I said, if Arsenal sustain their defensive gains and improve scoring efficiency by just 5 goals, they statistically overtake City in expected points per game. Is this 5 goals over the season or per game? He says, good question. The 5+ goals refers to the entire season, not per game. Here's the breakdown. Over 38 games, adding plus 5 goals scored, e.g. from 82 to 87, while keeping your defensive record stable, will translate roughly to 0.13 points per game on average. That might sound small. The fine margins that Mikel kept on talking about. This is what the fine margins really mean. But across the full Premier League season, that's an extra 4 to 5 points, which is often the exact margin that decides the title. So in simple terms, if Arsenal can convert 2 to 3 draws into wins by scoring just 5 more goals in total, they statistically surpass Manchester City's projected points per game curve. Wow. All right, cool. So that is, I just jumped into a whole rabbit hole with that, honestly. I jumped into a whole rabbit hole. Oh my God. Tell me that this thing was recording my screen and I did not... So yeah, man, I just jumped into a whole rabbit hole with that thing, and yeah, it was fun. It was fun for me. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching ChatGPT or reading ChatGPT just, reel out that Manchester City are going to win the league. Again, this is what ChatGPT says. I still back my team to win, but sometimes you got to do some fun things when there's no football yet, and football is back this weekend. So people, get ready for it. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, share the channel. This was all fun and games. Nothing here is set in stone, and ChatGPT does not predict the future, but we just try to use some maths to see if we could figure this out. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.